Emily Vale did not die the night she disappeared, but the three men in this warehouse had spent 22 years helping Ashford believe she had. The woman's voice came through a speaker above Nathan Reed as a timer on the far wall counted down from 30 seconds. Nathan sat in one of three metal chairs beneath a white work light. 10 feet away, Judge Benjamin Carter held his hands together so tightly that his knuckles had lost their color. Beside him, Logan Hayes, a real estate developer worth more than $60 million, stared at the concrete floor as though the truth might be written there. You built your lives on the same silence, the woman continued. When the timer reaches 0, the story goes public. 20 seconds. Nathan felt the familiar pressure return behind his ribs, the same force that had found him in elevators, newsrooms, grocery store aisles, and once during his daughter's 8th grade graduation. He had learned to swallow it before anyone noticed. He had swallowed grief, guilt, anger, and the memory of his younger brother Michael saying, "You can still fix this." He had swallowed so much for so long that silence felt like a second heartbeat. 15 seconds. Ben looked at him. Whatever she thinks she knows, she does not know everything. Logan gave a bitter laugh. Neither did we. The words opened something Nathan had kept sealed for 2 decades. Logan had denied the lake, the car, the photograph, and the girl whose face had appeared on posters across 3 counties. He had denied knowing Emily even when half the town remembered seeing them at the same graduation party. Nathan had protected those denials because they protected his own. 10 seconds. Tell it, Logan said. Nathan shook his head. You first. 5 seconds. The warehouse lights went dark, and the woman's final words followed him into the blackness. Then we will begin with the photograph. 7 days earlier, Nathan had been sitting alone in a 24-hour diner off Route 6, watching rain slide down the windows while coffee went cold between his hands. He had been fired from the Ashford Chronicle 3 months earlier after accusing the mayor's office of burying public records he could not prove existed. His editor called it obsession. His former wife called it another excuse for not being present. Nathan called it work because the alternative was admitting that he had built his life around exposing other people's secrets so no one would examine his own. The waitress had just left a check for $4.87 when a busboy placed a yellow envelope beside Nathan's mug. Someone left this for you, he said. Who? Nathan asked. The boy glanced toward the entrance. A woman in a red coat. She said you would understand. Nathan did not. He waited until the busboy walked away, then opened the envelope. Inside was a faded 5 by 7-inch photograph that had been printed recently. 3 young men stood beside a black Chevrolet Impala near Lake Darrow. Nathan recognized them because one of them was him. At 17, he had been thinner, harder around the eyes, and convinced that every mistake could be outrun. Ben Carter stood near the passenger door in the Ashford High varsity jacket he later claimed had been stolen. Logan Hayes leaned against the hood with his arms crossed. Behind them, the lake reflected a pale strip of morning sky. Nathan remembered the cold air, the mud on his shoes, and Ben asking whether they should call someone. What he did not remember was the 4th shadow stretching across the gravel from behind the camera. 6 words had been written on the back in black ink. The 4th man remembers what you did. Nathan read the sentence 3 times, as though repetition might make it harmless. His phone rang. The caller identification showed Ben Carter. They had not spoken in 11 years. Nathan answered without saying hello. Ben's voice was low. Did you receive one? Nathan looked through the diner window. Across the parking lot, beyond the neon sign and the wet line of parked trucks, a red coat disappeared behind a gray sedan. What is your show? Nathan asked. Ben hesitated. That pause told Nathan more than an answer would have. Meet me at St. Matthew Church in 20 minutes, Ben said. Come alone. The call ended. Nathan slipped the photograph into the envelope, left a $10 bill beneath his cup, and walked into the rain. His truck was parked 50 yards away. Halfway there, a message appeared from an unknown number. Ask Logan why his photograph is different. A second image followed. It showed the same Impala, the same lake, and the same 3 boys, but Nathan was standing behind the car with one hand on the open trunk. Inside, resting across the top of a small suitcase, Emily Vale's silver bracelet caught the morning light. Nathan stared at the image until rain blurred the screen, but the bracelet remained unmistakable. Emily had worn it throughout senior year, a narrow silver chain with a star charm her mother had given her. Nathan remembered seeing it beneath the lights at the graduation party. He also remembered spending years telling himself that he had imagined it. He drove to St. Matthew Church with the yellow envelope on the passenger seat and the new image open on his phone. The parking lot was empty except for Ben Carter's black sedan beneath a row of dripping maple trees. Ben waited inside with the engine running. Nathan got in without knocking. For several seconds, neither man spoke. Ben looked older than he appeared on television, not because of the gray at his temples, but because fear had removed the careful distance from his face. "Show me yours," Nathan said. Ben handed him a print. It showed the lake, the Impala, and the same morning light, but Logan stood near the front bumper with a handgun hanging at his side. Nathan set his phone beside the photograph. "That was not in the image sent to me." "I know," Ben said. "Then someone altered at least one version. Or Michael took more than one photograph. The angles were slightly different." In the image on Nathan's phone, the trunk was open and the bracelet lay across Emily's suitcase. In Ben's print, the trunk was closed and Logan held an object neither man remembered seeing near the lake. "What are we supposed to believe?" Nathan asked. Ben leaned back. "That one of us is still lying." Nathan almost laughed. "Still?" Ben opened his eyes. "Do not start. You called me after 11 years because you are afraid of a photograph. I called because my copy arrived at my house. My wife found it." That changed the weight of the conversation. Ben had spent 2 decades building a life that depended on control, a federal judgeship, 2 daughters in college, a home in the hills north of Ashford, charity dinners, newspaper profiles, and a reputation so polished that people lowered their voices when they said his name. "What did you tell her?" Nathan asked. "That it was fabricated." "Was it?" Ben did not answer. Nathan reached for the door, but Ben pressed the lock button. "Logan received one too," he said. "How do you know?" "He called 10 minutes before I called you. He offered $500,000 for every copy in negative." Nathan looked at him. "Logan does not spend that kind of money on a fake." Ben's jaw tightened. "He said his version showed you at the open trunk." Nathan lifted his phone. "This arrived 5 minutes ago. Then the sender knows where we are and what each of us has seen." A notification sounded from Ben's dashboard, and Nathan's phone vibrated at the same moment. A podcast called Missing North had released a new episode titled The Lake Darrow Photograph. Nathan pressed play. A woman's voice filled the car, calm and precise. 22 years ago, 18-year-old Emily Vale disappeared after a graduation party in Ashford, Pennsylvania. Police searched the county, questioned her family, and eventually concluded that she had run away. "This morning, I received a photograph proving that 3 young men were with her belongings near Lake Darrow after the time they claimed they had gone home." Ben stopped the recording. "Who is she?" "Samantha Vale," Nathan said. "She presents herself as Emily's younger sister." Ben turned toward him. Emily did not have a younger sister. Nathan had seen the name on the podcast page and accepted the claim without checking it. "She had an older half-brother," Ben continued. "No sister." Before Nathan could respond, a post appeared on Samantha's public account. A second episode would be released at 6 that evening and would identify all 3 men in the photograph. Ben unlocked the doors. "We need Logan." They found him in a private conference room above Ashford National Bank, where he had been meeting with attorneys about a downtown project worth nearly $40 million. Logan dismissed everyone before Nathan and Ben entered. He placed his photograph on the table. It showed Nathan beside the open trunk, Ben near the passenger door, and Logan several feet away with empty hands. Emily's bracelet was visible on the suitcase. "Whoever made these knows what each of us fears," Logan said. "My copy makes Nathan appear responsible. Ben's makes me appear responsible. The image sent to Nathan makes all 3 of us look guilty." "We were there," Ben said. "That does not make us guilty of everything that happened afterward." Logan turned toward him. "Do not speak like a judge in this room. You were the one who said we should leave." "Because she was conscious," Ben said. Silence settled over the table. Nathan stared at him. The sentence did not belong to the story they had repeated for 22 years. In that story, Emily vanished before they reached the lake. In that story, no one had checked on her because there had been no one to check. "What did you just say?" Nathan asked. Ben looked at Logan, then at the photographs. "She was alive." "At Lake Darrow?" Nathan asked. Ben shook his head. Logan quietly warned him to stop, but Ben continued. "She regained consciousness in the back seat on Interstate 84, 18 miles outside Ashford. For several seconds, Nathan heard only rain against the conference room windows and the muted traffic 6 floors below. Ben had broken the one rule they had followed for 22 years. They had never spoken about Emily regaining consciousness. They had never spoken about Interstate 84. They had never admitted that the girl Ashford believed had vanished from a graduation party had still been alive inside Logan's car. "Tell it correctly," Nathan said. Logan stepped away from the window. "There is no version that makes us look innocent. I did not ask for innocence. I asked what happened next." Ben placed both hands on the table. "We heard Emily moving when we were about 18 miles outside Ashford." Logan pulled onto the shoulder near the old Miller Road exit. "She was lying across the back seat. When she opened her eyes, she asked where we were." Nathan remembered passing headlights, Emily trying to sit up, and Ben insisting that they call emergency services. Most of all, he remembered the fear on Logan's face. "She was confused," Ben continued. "The nearest emergency room was back in Ashford, but Nathan said we could not return." Nathan turned toward Logan. "Say why." Logan stared at him. "There was cocaine in the glove compartment. My father's registration card was missing, and Ben had taken his father's service handgun after an argument at home." Ben lowered his eyes. "I never intended to use it." "That was not the point," Logan said. "We were 3 teenagers in a car with an injured girl, illegal drugs, and a weapon registered to a deputy sheriff. We convinced ourselves that no one would believe the truth." Nathan remembered Emily looking directly at him and saying, "Nathan, do not leave me with this decision." He had remembered the sentence differently for years because the real version placed responsibility where it belonged. "We decided to take her to the free clinic in Brookdale," Ben said. "It was open all night. 22 miles beyond the highway," Nathan said. "We never reached it." Logan poured water from a glass bottle, but his hand was unsteady. "Frank Dorsey stopped us before the county line. In 2004, Dorsey had been a patrol deputy, respected because he remembered every family and attended every school fundraiser. He later became the public face of the search for Emily. For 3 weeks, he stood beside her mother and promised to bring her home. He saw Emily in the back seat," Ben said. "He checked on her, asked whose gun was in the car, and ordered us to wait." Dorsey called Ben's father, another deputy, and Logan's father, whose influence reached across Ashford. Margaret Carter arrived with Ben's father less than an hour later. She took one look at Emily and refused to let the men send her home. "Your mother drove Emily away," Nathan said to Ben. "Dorsey told us that she would receive medical care and that we were to say nothing until our parents decided what to do." Logan set down the bottle. "Before dawn, my father told us to meet him near Lake Darrow. Emily's purse and suitcase were still in my trunk. He said Dorsey would keep our names out of the report if the scene suggested that she had left on her own." Ben looked toward the photographs. "We placed her purse near the shoreline. I left my jacket by the dock because she had worn it at the party. And Michael photographed us," Nathan said. His younger brother had reached the lake by bicycle before sunrise, carrying the inexpensive camera he used for the high school yearbook. Nathan had always claimed Michael arrived too late to see anything. The fourth shadow proved otherwise. Ben checked the time. "Samantha's next episode goes public in less than 3 hours. We need proof that Emily reached a hospital. Medical records will still be protected," Nathan said. "Even a judge cannot simply demand them." Ben called the attorney who had managed Margaret Carter's estate. He asked for every archived document containing the words Mercy County Hospital or Rachel Moore. 40 minutes later, the attorney sent a scanned canceled check from Margaret's personal account, along with a handwritten note found in the same file. The check was payable to Mercy County Hospital for $7,840. The note contained a patient name, Rachel Moore, and a bus route from Scranton to Columbus. Ben read his mother's handwriting twice. "She told me Emily had died," he said. "The day after Dorsey stopped us, she said my father had learned the truth and that speaking would destroy every family involved." Logan leaned over the table. "She paid the hospital and bought a ticket under another name." Ben looked pale. "I did not know this existed." Nathan's phone rang. The screen showed Samantha Vale. He answered and placed the call on speaker. "You found Margaret Carter's check," she said. No one asked how she knew. "Who are you?" Nathan asked. "You know who I claim to be. Emily had no younger sister." Samantha paused. "That is correct." Ben stood. "Then why are you using her name?" Because the name Vale opened doors that Dorsey kept closed. Nathan looked at the others. Dorsey. Samantha exhaled. My name is Samantha Dorsey. Frank Dorsey is my father. I began this investigation because I believed one of you had made him the sole villain. Then I learned that every family in this story had protected a different piece of the same lie. Samantha ended the call, but a message arrived 30 seconds later with an address and a time. 6 in the evening at the abandoned Ashford Rail Depot on Mason Street. No attorneys, police officers, or active recording devices. At 5:40, Nathan, Ben, and Logan parked 2 blocks from the depot and walked through a neighborhood of shuttered storefronts and narrow brick houses. Rainwater gathered along the curbs. The station had been closed for nearly 15 years, but a light burned behind the old ticket office. Samantha waited beside a folding table. She appeared to be in her late 30s, with dark hair tied behind her head and a calm expression that did not match the anger in her podcast. 3 enlarged photographs rested on the table. She asked them to switch off their phones and place them in signal blocking pouches for the duration of the meeting. Your attorneys will advise denial, she said. Judge Carter will call the images unreliable. Logan will purchase silence. Nathan will write a story that makes him the only honest man in Ashford. I am giving you one chance to examine the same evidence before the public does. Nathan placed his phone in a pouch. Ben followed. Logan hesitated, then did the same. Samantha turned the enlargements toward them. You assumed these photographs were taken during the night Emily disappeared. They were not. Nathan studied the lake, the pale sky, and the long shadows across the gravel. They were taken the next morning. At 6:12, Samantha said. Sunrise was at 5:48. A weather station 9 miles away recorded rain until 5:30. The road behind you is wet, but your clothes are dry because you changed before returning. Ben looked at the image. We brought Emily's belongings to create a false trail. Logan closed his eyes. Samantha nodded. Your father's told you to make the lake look like the place where she disappeared. Your father approved it, Logan said. Samantha's expression shifted. He told me he discovered the scene after it had been arranged. He lied, Logan replied. He called my father before dawn and demanded $50,000 to keep our names out of the investigation. Ben turned toward him. You never told us about money. I was 17. My father handled the first payment. The first? Nathan asked. Logan looked toward the dark windows. After my father died, Dorsey contacted me directly. I continued paying him. How much? Samantha asked. $10,000 at first. Later, $25,000 a year. He called it protection. Samantha reached into a canvas bag and removed bank statements. These deposits went into a trust in my mother's name. I found the records after she died. My father told us the money came from consulting work. It came from me, Logan said. The last transfer was 18 months ago. Ben moved closer to the table. My mother paid Emily's hospital bill. Logan paid your father. The adults knew she survived. Samantha looked at him. Your mother did more than pay a bill. She arranged the bus ticket from Scranton to Columbus under the name Rachel Moore. From there, Emily traveled west. Ben stared at her. Why would my mother help her disappear? Because Emily begged her not to send her home. The answer changed the room. For years, Nathan had imagined Emily as a victim of one terrible night. Samantha described a life she had been trying to escape long before graduation. Her father controlled her money, monitored her calls, and threatened anyone who offered help, Samantha continued. Margaret understood that returning Emily to Ashford could place her back under that control. She gave her $500, a coat, and a choice. Then Emily chose to disappear, Ben said. She chose to survive, Samantha replied. The rest of you chose the story the town would believe. Nathan looked at the photographs. Who gave these to you? Samantha turned the largest enlargement toward him. Michael preserved the negatives and a recorded statement. Before he died, he placed them in a safe deposit box and named a beneficiary. That person eventually gave me copies. Who was the beneficiary? Nathan asked. You are not entitled to that answer yet. Samantha opened a folder and removed a contact sheet containing 12 small photographs. In one, Logan placed Emily's purse near the shoreline. In another, Ben carried his jacket toward the dock. In a third, Nathan stood beside Michael with one hand raised, demanding the camera. Ben studied the fourth shadow. I saw Michael near the trees, he said. Logan stepped away from the table. Nathan told us he had not seen anything. He had not understood what he saw, Nathan said, and knew immediately that the distinction sounded false. Samantha placed a digital recorder on the table. Michael recorded this statement 5 years after Emily disappeared, when he was preparing to approach the Chronicle. She pressed a button. His voice entered the empty depot, younger than Nathan remembered and more certain. My brother tells people that he only witnessed what happened. That is the first lie. Nathan did not merely see the secret begin. He made the choice that allowed it to begin. Michael's recorded voice continued through the soft hiss of the restored tape. Nathan promised Emily that he would leave Ashford with her after graduation. She believed him. He never intended to go. Nathan reached toward the recorder, but stopped before touching it. Ben and Logan watched him with the stunned silence of men realizing that the story they had protected was never the same story. Michael explained that their father had ordered both brothers home before midnight. Instead, Michael saw Nathan meet Emily behind the school gymnasium. Music carried across the parking lot while they argued beside a dark access road. Emily held a small suitcase. Nathan had promised they would drive west, find work, and begin again somewhere her father could not control her. When the moment arrived, Nathan admitted that he had accepted a scholarship in Philadelphia and would not sacrifice his future. Emily accused him of offering hope only because her trust made him feel important. The memory returned in fragments. Emily beneath a parking lot lamp, both hands around the suitcase handle, asking whether any part of his promise had been real. She walked away before he answered. Logan and Ben were leaving the party when Emily stepped into the access road as Logan's car came around the curve. Moments later, she was on the shoulder, conscious but disoriented. Ben wanted to call emergency services. Nathan stopped him. He saw the cocaine in the open glove compartment, the missing registration card, and the service handgun Ben had taken from his father's house after an argument. Nathan understood how the scene might appear to the police, but that was not what frightened him most. If Emily explained why she had been walking alone with a suitcase, his scholarship, his reputation, and the version of himself he had shown Ashford would collapse. You said the clinic was safer, Ben whispered. Nathan did not deny it. Logan stared at him. You made it sound responsible. I needed it to sound responsible, Nathan said. Samantha stopped the recording. The admission left no place for him to hide. For years, he had called the decision panic because panic seemed temporary and almost innocent. The truth was colder. He had measured Emily's safety against his future and protected the future. Michael's voice resumed. He had remained near the school after the Impala left, uncertain what to do. About an hour later, he saw the car return toward Ashford without Emily inside. Before sunrise, he followed Nathan by bicycle to Lake Darrow and photographed the 3 boys arranging Emily's belongings near the water. He confronted Nathan later that morning and demanded that they tell the truth. Nathan warned that police would blame Logan for the accident, Ben for the handgun, and Michael for taking photographs instead of seeking help. 5 years later, Michael prepared to give the photographs to a reporter. By then, Nathan was working at the Chronicle and building a reputation as an investigative journalist. Nathan told his editor that Michael was unstable, dependent on prescription medication after a workplace injury, and obsessed with conspiracies. He supplied private records from a rehabilitation program. The newspaper refused to meet Michael. Nathan then persuaded their father that Michael was trying to destroy the family. Within months, Michael lost his job, his apartment, and the trust of nearly everyone around him. I told myself I was protecting him, Nathan said. Samantha's expression remained still. You were protecting your authority over the story. Michael's final words on the tape entered the depot with painful clarity. Nathan knows I am telling the truth. That is why he needs everyone to believe I am unreliable. If I am gone before this comes out, the photographs will prove that I remembered correctly. The recording ended. Michael had died the following year after a brief illness, isolated from most of his family. Nathan had attended the memorial, accepted condolences, and allowed neighbors to describe him as the brother who had tried everything. He had even written the obituary. I did not cause his death, Nathan said, but the sentence weakened as he spoke it. No, Samantha replied. You made certain that his truth had no value while he was alive. Ben walked toward the windows. Logan held the back of a chair with both hands. They had arrived believing Samantha meant to expose one shared crime. Instead, she had revealed 3 separate betrayals. Logan had purchased silence. Ben had accepted uncertainty because it protected his future. Nathan had used truth itself as a weapon against his brother. The clock above the ticket office reached 6, but no podcast notification appeared. There was no scheduled episode, Nathan said. The threat was leverage. It was a deadline, Samantha replied. She returned their phones and placed 3 consent forms on the table. Over the next 7 days, she would offer each man a separate recorded interview with counsel present, if desired. At the end of the 7th day, she would publish the verified evidence, whether they participated or not. No one was being detained, and no confession would stop the release. Why give us time? Ben asked. Because Michael wanted the truth believed, not merely suspected. Samantha gathered the photographs, then left one sealed envelope in front of Nathan. He recognized the handwriting before he touched it. Emily had written his name across the front. Emily's letter contained only 11 words. I survived the night, but none of you survived the lie. Beneath the sentence was a telephone number and a time for the following morning. Nathan called at exactly 9. A woman answered, and for several seconds neither of them spoke. Emily, he said. That name belongs to the person Ashford decided I was, she replied. I have lived as Claire Bennett for more than 2 decades. Nathan closed his eyes. I am sorry. You are sorry because the truth found you. That is not the same as being sorry when no one is watching. Claire told him that Margaret Carter had taken her to Mercy County Hospital, paid the bill, and arranged her departure from Pennsylvania. Frank Dorsey had allowed the alias to enter the record and kept her location from her father. Later, he accepted money from Logan's family to erase the boys from the official timeline. Claire stayed silent because returning meant facing her father, the town, and a story everyone had already decided to tell about her. Did you give Samantha the photographs? Nathan asked. Michael found me 17 years ago, Claire said. He wanted me to return and clear his name. I was afraid. Before he died, he named me as the beneficiary of the safe deposit box containing his negatives and recording. Her voice softened. I did not understand that your lie had already destroyed his place in the world. I kept the evidence until Samantha found me while investigating her father. During the next 7 days, Samantha interviewed Nathan, Ben, Logan, and Frank Dorsey separately, with attorneys present when requested. She compared every statement with the photographs, Margaret's check, Logan's payment records, Michael's tape, and Claire's account. Ben admitted that after his mother died, he found a reference to Rachel Moore and suspected Emily might have survived, but chose not to investigate. Logan admitted that the payments continued because silence protected his company. Nathan admitted that he had deliberately discredited Michael. Each man had spent decades calling himself powerless while making choices that benefited him. On the 7th night, Samantha invited the 3 men to a warehouse near Ashford. Their attorneys waited in an adjoining office, and the exits remained open. 3 chairs stood beneath work lights. A timer marked the final 30 seconds before the podcast and supporting documents were released. Nothing they said could stop publication. It was their last chance to place an unqualified truth on the record. Logan spoke first. He described the night, the decision not to call emergency services, the stage scene at Lake Darrow, the money, and the years in which he pretended charitable donations could balance cowardice. Ben admitted that his reputation for justice had grown beside a private refusal to examine his own past. Nathan remained silent until the timer reached 5 seconds. Then he said, I made the first selfish choice and encouraged the choices that followed. I protected my scholarship, my career, and my name. When Michael tried to tell the truth, I made him appear unreliable because people trusted me. I cannot change what I did to him, and I do not deserve control over how this story is told. The timer reached 0. A tone sounded, and the lights dimmed. When they rose again, Samantha stood beside a woman with silver hair cut to her shoulders. Nathan recognized Claire not because she resembled the girl in the yearbook, but because she watched him with the same directness he had once mistaken for dependence. Logan whispered her former name. Ben lowered his head. I did not return for apologies, Claire said. I returned because each of you turned my disappearance into something useful. Logan used it to purchase silence. Ben used it to avoid certainty. Nathan used it to expose other people's secrets while hiding the one that mattered. Nathan asked, what happens now? Claire looked toward Samantha. Now the truth belongs to the people who were denied it. The podcast and records were released that night. Independent reporters reviewed the evidence. Ben resigned from the federal bench and cooperated with judicial and state inquiries. Logan's company lost 2 public contracts worth more than $18 million and entered an external audit. Dorsey admitted that he had helped Claire leave, falsified parts of the timeline, and later accepted money because he convinced himself that continued silence would harm no one. Ashford removed his name from the public safety building. Nathan gave the Chronicle every document he possessed. The paper published his signed account beside its independent investigation. He described Claire's survival, Michael's photographs, and the campaign he had used to destroy his brother's credibility. The account was titled The Life We Buried, and it identified Michael as the person who preserved the truth when everyone else abandoned it. Claire met her mother privately, gave a statement to the district attorney, and returned to Oregon. She allowed Samantha to use her recorded voice, but refused photographs and live interviews. "Surviving does not make my life public property," she said. 3 months later, Nathan sat alone in his apartment with the original Lake Darrow photograph on the table. His daughter, Grace, had agreed to meet him for coffee but had not promised forgiveness. He placed the photograph in an envelope with Michael's recording and a copy of the investigation. For a moment, he considered cutting his younger self from the image. Then he understood that removal had always been his method. He had removed Claire from the story, Michael's credibility, and his own responsibility until only an acceptable version remained. Nathan left the photograph intact. On the envelope, he wrote, "This is who I was when I believed silence protected the people I loved. It protected only me." He carried it 3 blocks to a mailbox. Ashford looked ordinary in the clear morning, but Nathan no longer confused ordinary with innocent. He placed the envelope inside and listened as it fell beyond his reach. For the first time in 22 years, the truth was no longer something he possessed. It was something he had finally allowed to leave him.